Hi everyone, I'm Neelima Chakara. I coach professionals to increase their capacity and effectiveness, be visible, valued, and rewarded, and be the leaders they want to be. I welcome you to the second episode of the series Leading with Purpose, where I invite Udit Pahwa. I hope you enjoy it and it inspires you. Hi everyone. In today's episode of Leading with Purpose, I'm hosting Udit Pahwa. Udit studied accounting, finance, and law, but made a career as an information technology professional. His career spans across the domains of finance, accounting, business and technology consulting, and CIO roles. Udit has 27 years of experience across industries and geographies, and as a keen learner, he looks forward to gaining more knowledge and experiences. He has written a book and is often a speaker at various conferences. As we speak, Udit is the Group CIO of Kirloskar Management Services Private Limited. Welcome, Udit. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Neelima. Glad to be here.
All right. So I know you have very little time, so I want to just jump into the next section, and this is a
Sure.
rapid fire round.
Okay.
Okay. So please give your answers as quickly as you can, and preferably in one word.
Okay.
So, you have such a diverse background. What did you want to be when you were a child?
I wanted to be a sailor. Sorry, one word, sailor.
Okay, that's quite a shift. What is the one word that your family would use to describe you?
Disciplined.
What is the one word that your team would use to describe you?
Um, Supportive.
All right. Name one thing that you are passionate about outside of your work.
Um, I I would say reading.
Right. Name one person you are inspired by.
Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Okay. And may I ask why?
I think why he inspires me is with such limited resources, he's able to use his hard work and talent and rise up.
Hmm.
That's point number one. Point number two, despite a lot of failures, he's been able to bounce back. And point number three, despite all the success, he's been able to ground himself. So that's he has a very inspiring story, and I have lost the number of I've lost the count on how many number of times I have watched his biopic.
Wow. Okay. Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So, I think your career is the testament to how things continue to change, and the pace of change is increasing day by day.
That's correct.
And I want to ask you, how do you deal with that?
Uh, so staying relevant, obviously, you asked what is the passion outside work, so that is reading. So by reading is one way where you keep yourself relevant, whether it is general knowledge or it's politics or technology or otherwise. We're reading, and I think a lot of social interactions by way of meeting diverse people across diverse roles in various events and conferences that I attend.
Right? In the roles that you do, what do you think is the biggest leadership challenge, and how are you dealing with it?
So I think the contemporary challenge which the leadership roles face today is of and it has been in the past as well, is the human capital management. Uh, Technology finds its way, processes will develop, but human capital management is the biggest challenge today. And there are multiple aspects to it. One is, managing aspirations of the team members. The second is getting the right skill at the right time at the right place.
Hmm.
So skill management within the team, along with aspiration management, becomes a combination. And the third is retention. So if you are able to find the right skill at the right time, and he has the right aspirations, retaining that person becomes a challenge.
Mhm.
So I would rate these 3 points as one of the major challenge, or rather the three challenges that
Mhm.
leadership roles face today.
Okay.
Coming to the second part of how to deal with it, I think the approach that I have is to have a clear, defined path for every team member, which will take care of his expectations. So the expectations would arise out of his aspirations, and uh, have a clear-cut discussion of what is expected from the leadership, what is expected from the role, from the organization side, and what are the skills that he would need to acquire if he wants to his aspirations to fructify. So having an open dialogue in terms of the journey that one needs to traverse is, I think, the way to address these three problems.
And I'm sure that not all conversations go well.
Yeah, uh, I would say the current, if y'all are following IPL, then the success rate is quite low. It's in the bottom half of the table.
Yeah, yeah, because there's no accounting for aspirations, and
Correct.
aligning corporate aspirations and personal aspirations is not always easy.
Yeah, I think it's more of, there has to be a belief from the team members of what is in it for me from an organization's perspective. Generally, every employee thinks about himself on what is in it for him, but the same thought should also, you should echo the same thought as if you are the organization.
Mm.
So when the organization looks at you as its resource or an asset, the organization also thinks, what is in it for me to hire this or retain this employee or asset?
Mm.
And when these two questions marry together with kind of a level playing, or a leveling answer, that's when you have a path ahead.
So you're really asking professionals to reflect on why should the organization try, why should the organization invest in me as a professional?
Not just invest, but it's more of a give and take, right? I mean, if the organization grows, the employee grows. You cannot be in a situation where the employee is growing, but the organization is stagnating or not growing or degrowing.
Mhm.
So hence the question, if the employee is asking a question, what is in it for me? The reverse also needs to be answered from the organization's perspective of what is in it for the employee, in the employee for the organization. That's the correlation that I'm talking about.
Mhm. Um, so, the next question I want to ask you is, life is hardly ever smooth.
Yeah.
In the last 4 5 years, we've seen so much. And how do you personally deal with setbacks?
Oh, that's a good and tough question. Personally dealing with setbacks, I think I'm a firm believer of the fact that whatever happens, it is for the better. In Hindi, the saying goes, "जो होता है वो अच्छे के लिए होता है." So once you start believing that, even if it is a setback, it is for the betterment. So you start seeing the positive side of the setback. So if there is a setback that you have faced, yes, there would be goals which have not been met, objectives which are not achieved, etc. But there would also be a parallel set of things which you would have achieved. The learnings from the setback that come out, which will help you improve on what you need to do so that you can get back and achieve those objectives or meet those targets, etc. So believing that it, it is for the better, and learning from that setback to chart out the next steps and ultimately achieve your goal is what I believe is a method to uh, deal with setbacks.
Is it always easy to stay positive and look for Okay, it is for my better.
No, I wouldn't say it is always positive. It is always easy to stay positive because uh, it's always the negative thought that comes to your mind whenever you hear about any news or an event, or if you get an unexpected news. The first reaction itself is, you start uh, thinking about, oh, what all went wrong and why it went wrong, etc. That's where the negativity starts seeping in. So while it is okay to, introspect, but it is equally important and more important at that point, later point in time, to look at how can I better this setback,
Hmm.
or what can I do to improve and not face a setback again.
Hmm.
So it is not easy to stay positive, but the road to staying positive is easy. I would put it that way.
Okay. And what helps you?
What helps me, speaking out, though I'm not very good at it, but speaking out to people whom you can confide in or look up to. Have a set of people, friends, seniors, whoever you would want as a sounding board,
Hmm.
where you can go and reflect on your thoughts, bounce off your ideas, probably sound out what is your analysis of what has transpired, the setback you faced, and what you feel is the root cause, and what are the steps that you're taking. So essentially, uh, taking a taking an outside view from someone whom you know or you trust and you can confide in.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. You were talking about having those candid conversations with team members. And I
Yeah.
want to ask you, when you hire for your team,
Yes.
what do you look for in them beyond the hard skills that they need to succeed in their roles?
I think I mentioned before, attitude is one aspect that I look at, right? If the person carries uh, so the two parts to it. One is whether it is an individual contributor role or whether it is a team contribution or a leadership role. So that's the bifurcation that we look at. And the conversations and the skills vary accordingly. I'm sure you agree on that front. But in general, across all these different types of roles that we look at, is the first and foremost is what is the attitude of the person? Is the person malleable in his attitude and willing to learn, or is it someone who says, I've arrived, I've been there, done it all? Because the moment you are malleable and open to learning, it shows that, or rather, it projects that you would be flexible and accommodative. But if the attitude is been there, done it all, I know everything, then it kind of leads to my way or highway.
Hmm.
So, and that is when, if you take a hard line, then working along with a group of people or leading a team, etc., uh, that's where the spark starts flying, and you tend to have friction coming in.
Hmm.
So attitude is one, and I think the other part, apart from the hard skills, is also equally important is the soft skills, not just communication, but also the social skills of how the person is able to speak to another set of group members, or how good is a person's public speaking skills.
Hmm.
Because in the end, whether you are in technology or sales, sales definitely is needed. But when you are in a support function, how well can you orate yourself, and how well can you put across your point of view in a well structured manner and not be very blatantly aggressive, or for that matter, be very subdued? It matters in how you put across your point. So that's where the communication soft skills also come into play. So attitude and soft skills are two additional aspects that we look at along with the hard skills.
while you're calling them attitude and you're calling them soft skills, at least from where I'm sitting, I'm hearing the ability to make a connection with the people that you're working with.
Correct. Yes.
It's important.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. That's so I think I mentioned interacting with the set of people and working along with them. So that's the interaction, that's the ability to connect part, yeah.
And which is what everybody will do, whether they're individual contributor or they're leading a team.
Or the leadership role, correct.
So, we often tell professionals, take charge of your career. You are the, CXO of your own career. What, according to you, is taking charge? What can people do that amounts to taking charge of their career?
Okay, when we say take charge of your career, there needs to be a reasonable foresight on what you want to achieve in your career and probably break it down into short, medium, and long term. Those are the three buckets in which you put your aspirations, your objectives, your goals, whatever you want to call it. And then you look at, in order to achieve these, where do I stand today? And what are the gaps I need to fulfill in achieving these short, medium, and long term? The gap can be in terms of skill. The gap can be in terms of responsibility or any other parameter that you deem fit. And when you say take charge of your career, my personal thought is that look beyond what your JD, KRA, KPI mentions. Because the moment you start looking beyond these defined boundaries of KRAs, KPI objectives, annual targets, etc., is when you start growing as a resource for the organization that you work with. So once you start taking up additional responsibilities or tasks or whatever may be the case, which is beyond what is expected from you, is when you are taking charge of your career and you are ensuring that you're putting it on the fast track.
So you're saying know what you want, know where you stand, and go beyond what is defined.
That's correct.
Okay.
Very well summarized in a statement.
So, often people say, I've asked my boss so many times for, additional responsibilities, but they don't give it to me. What would you advise to such people?
I would advise that instead of asking for additional responsibilities which are not forthcoming, look at ways in which you can ease the responsibility of your reporting manager. So if he's carrying 10 different responsibilities, just for an example for discussion's sake, if he's carrying 10 different responsibilities, try and help him out in maybe one or two of the responsibilities from your side by either carrying out a task or probably doing some data analysis or whatever may be the case. And speak to the manager and tell him that I'm ready to help you in this area to take your burden off. Because the general thumb rule, if your manager grows, you grow. So help your manager grow so that you can grow.
Good, very good advice. Thank you so much, Udit. This was really, really useful. I'm sure our audience will find it very useful. And I want to thank the audience also for listening to this episode. Do let us know what specifically resonated with you. And what are the other questions that come up for you that you're not able to answer for yourself? What would you like us to address? Thank you so much. Thanks once again, Udit.
Thank you, Neelima. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Don't forget to share what resonated with you and what else would you like to hear